What's going on, everybody? Today we are going to be talking about a new CSS framework that has been released for Oxygen. And before we jump in, let's talk a little bit about what a CSS framework actually is. A CSS framework contains CSS styles that are prepped and ready for the developer to use. And what are some of the benefits of a CSS framework? Well, this gets powerful when the framework you use includes responsive calculations and adjustments to shorten the time you put into ensuring a website looks good on all devices. And it keeps your design consistent. Many people may not notice this at first glance or even know that they're noticing it, but a consistent design goes a long way, and it's a big part of delivering high quality and clean looking websites. And last but not least is it saves you time. So we put a lot of time into developing websites, and hey, saving time is a huge benefit. In our business, or really in any business, to be successful, it's important to constantly be weighing up time versus value and how your time is generating revenue for the business. So even though many of us could probably code a lot of these styles that are in the framework, it's beneficial to the business to deliver a consistent and maintainable design while saving time that could be freed up for other projects. When it comes to CSS frameworks, there's actually a lot of different options out there. And I'll tell you a little bit about why I like Edit OCSS and why I've added it to my plugin stack. So it's important to me that the CSS framework is lightweight. And when I say lightweight, when you look at the code, Edit OCSS has under 300 lines of Sass. Now, like I said, there's a lot of different options out there, some of which might be a better fit for you or others. But my preference is not to have a solution that can take care of every aspect of styling for me. What I want is a consistent way to handle some of the major pieces. And it's very important to me that the framework is lightweight. Again, it's not that most developers require these frameworks to deliver good work. The point for me is to save time and be consistent. Having too many options not only complicates things for me, those options provide so many features that I'm not using, so I just don't really need them there. And also, the interface is really clean. It just perfectly gives you all the options that you need. And the interface is probably the number one reason why I've added Edit OCSS to my everyday stack. At our agency, we've worked with our own lightweight framework similar to what you're getting with Edit OCSS. But for me, it's beneficial to have a nice interface to be able to work from. So when I need to make adjustments, I have a nice little interface. I can come in, I can have a visual way to kind of change some of these settings, opposed to jumping in a style sheet and making change to the code. So let's jump into the dashboard and see some of the settings that you get. The first tab here is going to be breakpoints. The first thing that you're going to set up is your viewport. So you've got your max viewport and your min viewport. You want to set that up, and it's important to set this up because this is what's going to be used in the responsive calculations that are going to be used throughout your site. Now on your breakpoints, you can set your XL, your large, your medium, and your small. The next tab is going to be colors. So up top, you're going to go ahead and set your global colors up. You have your primary color, you have your secondary color, and you have your tertiary color. Now, most of us are familiar with the primary and the secondary color. If you're not sure what the tertiary color is, it's a color that's used to derive the roles of contrasting accents that can be used to balance primary and secondary colors or bring heightened attention to an element. The role of the tertiary color is left for teams to use at their discretion, and it's intended to support a broader color expression in products. Now, in addition to your global colors, you're also going to have some other colors that you can set up. So this next line is your alert colors, where you can set up your success, warning, and error color. And then you also get access to some other stuff like your background color, your alternate background color, your black color, your shade color, and then some heading colors, text colors, border colors, and an alternate border color. The next tab is your headings tab. So up top, we have H1XL, which we typically use this for hero sections. And then you've got your standard H1. And similar to that, you have your H2XL and then your H2. And then, of course, you have H3, 4, 5, and 6. For each of these, you're going to set up your max font size and your min font size. Now, again, these are going to be the settings that are used when calculating these responsive adjustments. And then you're also going to set your line height and your font weight for each of these. The next tab is your body text, and this is very similar to the headings. You've got your max and your min, your line height and your font weight, and you have a text XL, L, medium, small, and extra small. The next one is going to be spacing. So this is great because this gives you a consistent way to space elements out. And you have everything from 3 extra small all the way up to 3XL. You can set the min and the max, and again, your responsive adjustments are going to be made based on these settings. The next section is your section padding. So up top, you're going to want to set your container padding, your left and right min and max. And then down below that, you can adjust all the section paddings, and that's going to be for the top and bottom of your sections. You've got an XL, an L, a medium, and a small. The next tab is going to be for your button settings. And up top, you have your button global settings. So you have your border radius, your border width, you have your border style, which I have set as solid, and then you have your button cursor, which I have as pointer. And then from there, you can go ahead and set up the different size buttons that you're going to be able to work with. And for each of these, you can set up the text size, the font weight, the top and bottom, and the right and left padding that'll be used for each of these different size buttons. Once you have all the sizing set up, you can move to your button colors. So for each one of these button types, you have a primary button, a secondary button, a tertiary button, and a black button. So each one of these, you can kind of set up the different colors that will be used when you're using this type of button. So for example, if I want to use a primary button, you're going to go ahead and set up your background color, the text color, the border color, and then that outline text color. And then you can also set all of your hover settings down here. So you got your background color hover, the text color hover, the border color hover, and the outline text hover. So again, you can set this up for just the primary. You can also do the secondary button. You can do a tertiary button and a black button. Once you've got your button set up, you can move on to borders and max widths. Right here, you can set your border radiuses from extra small all the way up to double XL. And then you can also set your max widths from extra small all the way up to double XL. Now, one important thing to note here is when you first install Edit OCSS and visit the dashboard, you're going to notice that all of this is left blank. Now, that doesn't mean it's not doing anything, but what it's doing is it's pulling in the default settings. And for me, it was important to get some actual numbers and settings in here when I initially set this up, because I have a visual way to kind of visualize my starting point. And from there, I can make adjustments. And once you kind of put in the work to get your starting point, you can use that throughout, this project and also take that on to future projects. So one of the first things I would recommend doing is get your settings set up so you have numbers in there and you have a visual way to kind of have a place to start out at. So let's take a look at how this works when you're using a framework like Edit OCSS in one of your projects. When we set up a new project, one of the first things we do is we set up a style guide. And a style guide is a great way to kind of piece all the colors and typography together, just so you have a visual way to kind of look at things before you start designing and developing your project. And it just lays everything out in a way where you can get some creative ideas and how you can get started with your work. Now, if you're interested in setting up a style guide that you can use on your projects, it's really easy to do. And there's really not just one way to do it. You can set this up any way you'd like, but ideally you'd like to have all your different heading sizes laid out, and then you'd like to have all these different color boxes so that you can see all the different shades and tints of the colors that you'll be working with. Now, when we set ours up, we basically put a class on each of these color boxes just so we could control how those color boxes look. And you'll notice that the color is not going to be added here to the background because each of these has a different color. So the color's added at the ID level, and we put that in there to control the colors. And you'll notice that on this color box and all the color boxes that we're using here, we have not added the color through a class. We've added it through a variable. And you can actually use either or when you're using a framework like this. So I can either add the color using this variable by adding my variable for the primary shade 5, or I could have come up here and I could have done something like background primary shade 5 and added it there, and that would have changed it to that same color. The reason I did it this way for the style guide is because it just makes more sense and it's easier to work with when you're working with all of these different colors at the same time. And again, you can set the style guide up however you'd like. There's no right or wrong way. For us, it's just really simple to have the typography. You've got your different colors. And for each of the colors, you're going to see that primary button, and you're going to see the alternate button that hover. It changes to the primary color. And then we've also got some of our primary text and background, as well as our alternate text and background colors there. So to give you an example of why something like this is so powerful, let's say you've been working on a project for about a month and you get a call from the client and they say, hey, we need to change that red color to a different color for whatever reason. It makes it really easy for you having a framework like this set up and ready to go. So let's say we get a call and we need to change that primary color to a blue. Well, it's as simple as going into our Edit OCSS dashboard. We find the primary color. We're going to change it from red, let's say, to some sort of light blue here. Once we've got the color picked out, all we have to do is hit save. And then we can refresh our style guide page. And you can see that the change has been made everywhere because this was set up properly. So you can see the power when you're using a CSS framework like this. And it's important to use this type of logic. So when you're making something a specific color, you don't want that color to be blue. You want that color to be primary, because that way you have control over that color. Imagine you have a website that's 200 pages and it's got this blue everywhere and you need to make that change. You need to change it to a different color. So if it was labeled blue, you're kind of stuck. You're going to have to go and make that change everywhere. But since it's labeled primary, we have full control over the primary color and can make a quick change by just changing our primary here. Let's take a look at another example of how this is used. So we'll go to one of our pages here. You can see that we are using our primary color in this design. Now again, we get a call that the primary color needs to be changed. And this time, let's say that they want that primary color to be some sort of green. We go here, we make the change, we hit save. And just like that, our color should be updated in all the places that we're using that primary color. Right here, we've got this warning color here in orange. If I come over here to the warning color, and let's say we want to make that a yellow. Save. Refresh. And that looks horrible, but you see the point. And this doesn't just work for colors, right? This works on text. This works on spacing out your sections. This works on buttons. So let's look at this button here. So if we've got this button kind of laid out all throughout our site, we can quickly make a change to it. Let's say we want to make these more round. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to my button section and I'm going to say 15. We're going to hit save. And just like that, you can see that all the buttons have been changed with that new style. So hopefully you can see the value when working with a CSS framework like Edit OCSS. And like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of different framework options out there available to you. For me, I'm an Oxygen developer. I plan to stay an Oxygen developer. This is just a very powerful way and a very simple way without too many options. I like my framework lightweight, and I like having the ability to have a nice interface to be able to make adjustments. So if this is something you might be interested in, you can head over to their website, Edit OCSS. I believe right now they have a limited lifetime license that you can pick up right here. And if you're interested in checking out more content like this, where we talk about different development strategies, different tools that can be used to increase efficiency and help your workflow, make sure you head over to our online community at www.wpcodeblock, where it's a community you can join. We have community support, we have training, we have industry news. It's basically a place where you can join a community of like-minded people where we're working together to constantly improve our skills and become better as developers. So I hope you got some value out of this. I'll see you on the next one.